Okay, got it all figured out now?
Yeah.
All done.
Got it dialed in, yeah.
Dialed.
It's been 2 years of dialing it in, at least, so not
Exactly.
just today.
Well, the thing is, it's the experience, and everyone's experience is somewhat unique, but also somewhat similar. That's what's kind of interesting about this whole community, is that everyone's life has its uniquenesses, but there is a common thread of pain and suffering that all of you parents go through. So take it away, Ryan. Give me a story.
Well, first I'd love to just, have Dr. Newman and Ryan introduce themselves again, and also how you guys know each other.
I thought everyone knows them.
Yeah, well, I think you have a really cool story of
Yes.
how you know each other and everything, so.
Yeah, well,
Oh yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah.
we've kind of worked in the hood together in ERs for
Yeah.
25 years now. So Hollywood and downtown LA, and that's how we know each other.
From working in the emergency room in downtown
emergency
LA.
room, yeah, it's been a pretty rough ride there.
So, yeah, Ryan was attacked by my patient who attacked him, so that was part of it.
I've lost
But
many
the thing
teeth.
is, the thing of thinking about patients and people who are close to you reaching out, so I distinctly remember when Brooke was born, and I distinctly remember him coming to me when she was about 2, and they were doing a busy ER shift, and he's like, Brooke doesn't really respond to me right. And he was, giving me some pictures, and I just asked him a couple of questions, but I'll never forget it to this day, and I had no answers. And then, regret, you ever regret with your own kids. I know, you always think you messed up your kids in some way, or they tell you that. So, but then I think about back to that day, and I remember distinctly learning about this, and then just the slow process of, hey, Ryan, and everything he's done for Brooke, tried everything and feeds her right and exercises her and just was 100% present, and him and her mom, they're 100% present and just do everything. And I just started to slowly introduce, the concept, and I didn't know enough about it. And he went and took the course. So yeah, but anyways, just that regret thing, we have to all maybe let that go.
Brooke is 19 now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so you're talking 19 years ago. So you were part of the story from Brooke's birth. That's a long story.
Yeah.
And so that's not like.
Well, yeah, just hearing the nightmares of field trips and on a train and
Yeah,
she
it
went berserk.
was basically just getting worse. So Brooke had a kind of really horrible birth. There was no OB doctor showing up for.
Sorry, Ryan, will you hold your mic a little closer for the live stream?
There was no OB doctor showing up for 3 hours, I remember, and we didn't really understand how serious it was. But when we actually got all the records about 8 years later, it showed she wasn't reacting on her non-stress test, and that was 3 hours before we saw a labor and delivery doctor. And then they were having to use noisemakers to get her react, so it was a really delayed birth. So she ended up having damage on her gray matter as well, and a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. And she, came into the world kind of really low tone right from the start. Her hands are really weak and kind of long. They used to be. They're really strong now. But, and then she seemed to be becoming a bit more of a normal child at 2, and then up to 4, kind of losing things one at a time that she seemed to have gotten, expressing herself and just not looking at us anymore. And then from there on in, it was just pretty much a deterioration, kind of losing things till age 8. And then in the teen years, just turning into a complete nightmare of, she was just agitated all day. She'd hit herself, pull her hair. And it was an all-day stim, really. She'd moan 8 hours a day. And then she, the worst of all, it was kind of killing me, because the worst of all is she's really intelligent, and her teachers say they've never seen an autistic child manipulate adults so well. So I did not understand at the time. I thought she just hated me. But one of her stims became making me freak out. So she would do crazy things and look right in my eye if you've played fetch with a dog and they're looking at you so excited. So she took my iPhone and tossed it in the pool and just stared in my eyes. Or I walk in and she has scissors out, she's chopping up my leather couch and just couldn't wait for me to freak out. Yell the F word in public. That was one of her big things, and just stare, see what I did, which is super embarrassing. So she was basically killing me. So I was trying everything, and we're the proof that diet and exercise just can't get it done. For about 10 years, even in this state, I would make her hike, and she'd go like 200 feet and scream and cover her ears and go on the ground. I'm like, you're not getting anything until we keep going. And I was determined because I thought our life is screwed no matter what. This is like not worth living. So I'm going to put us through pain and try and exercise our way out of it or die trying. And I did that for like 8-10 years. And I tried every diet trick. I did a lot of research, and I've tutored pathophysiology universities. I knew how to do it, and I couldn't find what worked. We would like try so many things. Like, we went through a phase of broccoli sprouts, which helps neuroinflammation, and I would get like some gains for kind of a month, and it would be an obscene amount of broccoli sprouts. Like, good on her for being able to go through this, chugging, raw, horrible stuff, spirulina, whatever. And as soon as I get a gain, I'd lose it like in one day, and I wouldn't understand. It'd be like 2 weeks. I'm like, we're finally getting somewhere. Lose it, and she'd be worse. So it was kind of like her trajectory was just like it was heading downwards. So that's kind of when, I thought, who do I know that's really kind of going along a scientific route? And I knew Dr. Newman here was going to like all the world conferences, cellular biology, and I was also. As much as we were exercising, I was like swollen. It was killing me because I was just stressed all the time. It was either ER in the hood or Brooke, killing me. So I just kind of reached out to Dr. Newman, and we started working together. And weirdly, like I remember she mentioned plasmalogens. I'm kind of surprised you weren't like, oh my God, you have to try this. You're just like really calmly. And for some reason, I'm like, hell yeah, whatever. I'll do whatever. And yeah, it was pretty quick. Like, maybe 2-3 weeks in, I just noticed she's still moaning, but it's not this grating, agitated moan. It's like a hum. And that's the first thing I noted. I was like, oh my God, that's something. And I remember contacting Newman and saying, well, let's go to the next level on this. And sure enough, it's been kind of turned the trajectory completely around. And she still has ups and downs, but it's going upwards, which is quite amazing. Yeah.
How old was she when she started?
So she was 17.
17.
And I don't know who knows this story. I know you guys know this story, but it was like, it kind of peaked when her mom called me and said, like, Brooke's choking me, and I can't get her off. Because all I was doing was training Brooke. So Brooke's like really strong, but she's fully crazy. And she was like trying to choke her to death. And she's like, I think I have to call the police, and she won't stop attacking me. So, I drove down, and I was like full sergeant. I'm like, you get up now. I freaked out. And she was just rushing me, would scream, rush me, attack me. And she had kind of never hit me before. So I was just like, I was wrestling her, and we were like soaked, absolutely soaked. And I was like, what is going on that she's in this much pain? Like, this is crazy. So,
yeah, so when did she lose her voice?
Like,
not her voice, but her words.
Stop talking.
Yeah.
It seemed to kind of late a little. Like, it's kind of a blur, to be honest. But I feel like more like 4. It's like, oh, she's not talking. Like, she's starting, and then it's like going away and gone. 4 or 5, maybe, something like that.
So at 17, she was completely nonverbal.
She would have like the F word.
You only got one word.
Yeah,
choose
amazing.
wisely.
That's. Yeah, no, there was about like maybe like four sentences. You know? Yeah.
So I think, the thing I tried to think for myself, and I think I talked to Ryan about, is getting rid of whatever was the pain issue. And the scary thing, that one of the things he told me is he makes fun of a lot of things, and this is obviously he uses humor, but he says it outright too, that it was a nightmare. So she, they take the bus to school, 'cause she's still in high school for special education, and because something that caused her pain, sensory pain, caused her to attack the bus driver, they literally every day put her into, makes me want to cry, just think of a child, tie her up like Hannibal Lecter in the bus with a full, pretend on and off the bus.
It's 5-piece harness.
5-piece harness on a child. Yeah, so, but now, just to give up, let's just do one thing. If she stops moaning, that's a sign of pain. And if she can express in some way, have a better expression to tell you what that simulation is, to attack a bus driver. So now when we get in the car, we drove all the way out to Dr. Goodenow's with her, and no blinker, no blinker, no blinker. The blinker drives her crazy. And there's other things, the clouds going by, but that sensory, I said, our hope is for, obviously we want the trajectory to go up and her to be able to, do a lot more stuff, which Ryan can tell you all the things she can do, but just to, just to get them out of pain, and to be able to express their needs is so huge.
Yeah, that alone, just her calming of moaning was an indicator to me that, she was in less pain for sure. But now she's, her happiness has just increased. I can't tell you, I don't know, 1,000, 4,000%. She went from just, a horrible day every day, our whole life sucked, to, now she'll maybe moan 20 minutes to an hour a day, and she has about, instead of 5 sentences, about 100 sentences. And we're starting to learn, kind of like Newman said, because I know she hates the wind, and she does, but she's gotten so much better at that. And we thought it was just the wind, and any time it was over 11 miles per hour, it ruined our whole day. She couldn't go out. And then she looked out the window and she was like, I'm like, what are you looking? She said, I don't like when the clouds are moving at, I think, 18 or whatever. And I was like, wow, all these years I thought it was just the wind. And she's like staring at the clouds. So starting to kind of reveal some different things from her. And then lately, her speech, everything, the latest thing is really kind of sweet. Because if you think about it, I could only go to one grocery store because her threat sensor, her amygdala is broken, and she would have to memorize the whole store. So if I went anywhere else, it was a disaster. So the things that she really couldn't memorize, it seemed, was the wind and hugging, right? Because it's all over the place and it's constantly changing. So, her whole life, if we ever did hug, she'd, turn her back and squint. It was like painful, but I think it was like, I was kind of expecting my goal to be, I want her to be fully conversational, but I realized, this disease doesn't really care about my goals, so it'll give me what it gives me. So it gave me like hugging. So now she is able to hug, and she loves to hug. That's just been about 2-3 months. Runs off the bus and wants to play with my hair, and then hug every day. And then her teacher said she went outside on a very windy day, and we're doing walks on windy days now, which is huge. And she was just kind of sitting there, kind of feeling the wind, which is really cool. It's something she didn't have access to for, 17 years. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question? Mm-hmm. I'm controlling this, sorry. So I wanted to talk about mobility and balance, because I've noticed that in my dementia patients, and in your study, obviously, the balance is a super issue. And also, since Brooke had a stroke and uterine hurt, she didn't really incorporate her upper body when she walked, and had a different gait, like a lot of autistic children will have, or ASD kids. But tell about gait differences and how she incorporates her body and climbing, things you've seen with plasmalogens.
Yeah, so I knew enough about the brain to know that I really wanted to focus on multiple different types of exercise from the start. So, and kind of do periodization where she's going to work on this with her brain. And one great one is climbing, of course. We get her swimming, we walk on sand, we do a lot of hiking off trail, so she's always kind of working her brain. But climbing has been one we've been doing for a good 8 years. We go to Boulder Dash in Westlake, and thank goodness they're super inclusive there, because she would be screaming the F word up on the wall, and the whole place would just act like it's not happening, which is amazing. Everybody knows it's happening. But yeah, that was actually before the hugging thing. I think it was maybe 6-8 months ago. That was the big thing. She probably improved her climbing. I'm trying to think, by after 8 years, probably 60% in a couple months, she went way up. She could never stay on the colors because climbing is color schemed, right? And so that's been a huge gain. And we keep working on that. So I think one of the best things, I did the Breaking Autism course, which was amazing. And it really made me understand kind of what's happening here and why I could get gains and lose them. But Dr. Goodenowe said the plasmalogens, it may be not a cure, but they really untie your hands so you can fight. And that's kind of what it's like. So it feels like now we can actually win some rounds. And, I still believe where you got to fight hard, because I want to see how far she can go. So we're incorporating nutrition and all these type of exercises, always thinking about how we can kind of Yeah.
Can you talk a little about your experience with the omega-9, the glia versus the neuro, and when you switched from one to the other, and what kind of differences you experienced?
Yeah, so for a few reasons, affordability, and I'm also a guy that just likes to try things. I don't want to go years and be like, oh, it was better that way, and I've never tried stuff. So I played around with the things, and I've kind of gone into periods where I'm really focusing on growth periods, and I'll go heavier neuro, lots of athletics, lots of salmon and eggs, really try and build the brain. And I will see her along that. She usually gets her gains in singing and telling jokes. I don't know if you have that video here. Yeah, she tells little jokes. I think we played
at the break, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll see that kind of bloom. And then at the end when we're like, oh, she's not sleeping as well or whatever, because she is excited. You can see it in her. She's gone through 17 years of hell. And she's going through this process of her brain opening up. And she gets super excited. So when she gets too jazzed, it's time to like calm it down. I'll like lower the neuro, I'll lower the exercise, and I'll do bursts of glia. So she might be on 2 pills of glia during the growth period. And when I come back, I'll do like 8 glia a night and calm everything down. And it seems to... at the end of the growth period, she might be a little more moany, a little more agitated. It's still amazing. But it seems to kind of lock in the gains we made. And now she's like calm with the gains. And that's kind of been my experience so far.
You started with just the glia at first, though, right? And then put neuro in later?
Yeah, I believe. So Brooke's probably been on it, I think, 2 years and a bit.
Okay.
And I think we did 8 months of all glia.
Yeah, it was a long time with all glia. I was afraid, and Ryan obviously is very bright, and he's like we learn from our patients, and that's the best experience. So he has taught me so much on, he's go on and off, and how what he sees in his child, and that's really important to me. And so I come to him with questions on my other patients, dementia, but like I have a dementia patient who he's been on very high doses making gains. He's starting to do a ticking sound with his teeth. So it started with his veneers being a little loose. So he started to, so it's a little overstimulation. So now he's doing this. And when he gets stressed, the ticking, making a mouth noise. But then it's like, talk to Ryan. It's like, well, we should maybe take a neural break, or back down the neuro. So things we have to remember. So that's just the learning process. But we went a long time with glia to get all the inflammation down before we started the neuro. And then I just told him what you might see with neuro, as a side effect, and then he was able to use those watching his child because he knows her so well, and to dose the neuro as he sees fit. Which
and the glia,
yeah.
I find just like for us the glia works so much better in big bursts out of nowhere. That's but it's still a work in progress, of course.
And sometimes you'll say if she has a trip coming up or a long car ride, you have a certain strategy for that, right?
Oh yeah, we preload her big time. Yeah.
So tell people who are listening maybe what you mean by preload.
If we're like flying and we don't want an international incident because she can take a plane down. She nearly took a bus down. We'll definitely go heavy on the glia. We'll do like 8-10 a night for about 5 nights, and it sets her brain up. And this is it's been repeated multiple times. So I'm trusting that's working. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing because we take a lot of nutrients because we intellectually know. Okay, we take N-acetylcysteine because I know it increases my glutathione levels. Absolutely take it. I take acetyl L-carnitine. I can't feel it, but I know I need it, and it actually improves mitochondrial efficiencies. And the nice thing about these molecules, you actually feel them. Like you can actually say, "Oh, I can't get up in the morning. I'm going to take a little less," or And Duke is great because he's our biotester with ADHD himself, and he's got a son, Dash, with autism. But because obviously we'll test molecules, you'll feel them. And if you take a lot of neuro, it can really turn the lights and super bright on you. And so you can, and I think that's the power of some of these programs is that when we talk about people making their own decisions and identifying what works the best and get that power of making these choices into individuals, because ultimately you're the one who knows what's going on. And that's
I'm really sensitive to supplements, and I'm taking them too. Yeah, and you can get your brain in, if you do it right, I feel like you can get in such a nice place. Yeah. It's like your brain's growing. It's really nice. Yeah.
So Ryan, your daughter, when she's 17 years old, basically nonverbal, hard to basically take her anywhere. And she's now talking, not perfectly, not full vocabulary, but much more than she was. She's singing. We'll play after our conversation. She's telling jokes. We have a video. I'm sure she's hugging you for the first time in 17, 18 years. It's unbelievable, but I'm wondering, have you seen that she is aware, like that she's in less pain? Have you been able to kind of connect with her and see that she's aware that something's changing within her?
Oh, absolutely. And we're exercising every day together. We're going through this whole process together. And I feel like she'll do anything I say now because
the
she was in
there.
Yeah, she was in such pain. She's she's almost seems interested in it. And there's other little things popping up, like she's starting to know how to use tools. Mm-hmm. So before, I think the world was just such a jumbled nightmare for her, she didn't even know where to begin. And now she's like, that truck is bothering me. Her hearing's insane. So she'll say that, and there's like a beeping. I have to listen for 10 seconds. I'm like, oh my God, it's like 5 blocks away. But she can tell, and she's like, get my earphones. And it's making everything so much more tolerable that she can be part of this process.
She can tell you what's bothering her instead of just moaning.
Yeah, and tell me like, no, I don't want to go. So it's not realistic for me to have her in here. Thank goodness I didn't bring her. She would have dismantled this stage. But because she doesn't like it, and she can tell me, she's not interested in that.
Well, when I met her and we had our interview, she was chilling.
Yeah, she can be. She can be.
Yeah. So I think
that was that 5 days of Glee.
Yeah. No, I don't think
she was preloaded.
She was? She was chilling.
She's got a lot of personality. She can go either way.
Yeah.
She is a product of Ryan.
Yeah.
But actually, the learning thing is actually an interesting thing because people really have a misconception of how we learn and how we interact. The social interaction skills, and they really don't understand how complex human interactions are. So when you say she can now hear that sound, or she can communicate what she's hearing, and people with ADHD, and like Dookie is a good example of this as well. When we learn, people think it's when we want to identify how to interact with an individual, it's really based upon how we can interpret the perception of information coming into us. So autism is a challenge of sensory reception. And our ability, what myelination does, it allows us to isolate signals. And if we can isolate these signals from each other, we can look at one and they don't blend. And so when we're here, we can have different conversations in a big, busy room here. But there's a lot of things going on. I can hear the clinking outside and this and that. And our ability to focus on one thing at a time, and one set of conversations versus another set of conversations, that's all built upon the myelination process. And if that is thin, okay, if all of a sudden, David jumps up and starts yelling the F word, okay, I can see David yelling at me, right? And I don't hear all of you, okay? I can see that one strong signal isolated from everything else. Okay, but if I can't isolate that signal, the myelination, it'll sound like everybody is screaming at once. Okay, and Duke has a good example. When we give you extra neuro, all of a sudden all the voices of the room, you can't differentiate where they're coming from. You hear them all simultaneously. The inability to isolate a signal. And this is a big impact because when you're trying to learn something, okay, you're doing something. So she's testing you and she's responding. But if she can't interpret the response back from her, okay, so when she's starting to hug is now because she can actually get that feeling back. So if I want to hug or want to anger somebody, I say something and then I watch, okay, and said, oh, if I do this, this is a reaction, okay. But it's what comes back to me.
Feedback.
It's a feedback loop that actually allows me to learn, because without the feedback loop, I can't learn. And so children get autistic and become the oneness, the internalization. They can internalize themselves because they can still have that conversation in their head without the sensory stimulation. Okay, they can do it without their eyes, they can do it without their ears, they can do it so they can actually have, and they create these patterns of movement. It's like watching, some people like to study with high music on, because that loud music will drown out all the other distractions. And so the stimming behavior creates that standardized thing. So all of a sudden, when the external world becomes less and less scary, okay, and you see that with Nova and Thatcher, and they actually start toying and they start playing, the world doesn't become scary anymore because they can actually, it's the reception part, and then they can start getting what they want. And it might be to, make you angry, but she's get better and better at it if she wants to, or your sister. But that's the whole point of learning, and it's feedback loop. So we'll see a lot of children with autism. They can actually do an action. Okay, they can go do something. They can make people play like their action figures. So their ability to do something is not really impaired, but it's their ability to really interpret what's coming back into them. And this is what the myelination process really empowers. And I think we forget about that basic concept of the learning cycle.
Yeah, I remember my behavioral therapist friend was telling me about the functions of behavior and how that works, similar to what you're saying. So he taught me that, when she yells the F word in public, do not look at her, act like it's not even happening. And she's used to getting that response, so she'll repeat it over and it'll get crazier and crazier until she's like, that's not working, and drop off. So yeah, a lot of that, you get good at not reacting at all to some of the craziest things. And she'll just stare and stare, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there was, with her singing, I'm tone deaf, so I don't know this. My son is a musician, and he said with the last song that she was actually she was more in tune when she's singing. And then she remembers all the lyrics that she learned and all the music that you've played to her over all the years, and she's listened to, and now she comes out and sings the whole songs. But now she's actually singing better.
Yeah, her taste in music has always been phenomenal. So she's, she goes through the good oldies, Elvis, Cat Stevens, Led Zeppelin. And she goes for the critic's choice, never Metallica. She'll never go for Enter Sandman. She'll go for the, Master Puppets, the old cool stuff that critics choose. So I knew she has that. So one thought I've always had is I'm kind of excited as she can gain control of the parts of her mind that just aren't functioning. There's parts that are really functioning, and it's kind of exciting to see how that will come out. We're kind of seeing the start of it. She was doing 1,000-piece puzzles when she was young, and she'd do them upside down and, a new puzzle in a couple hours. It was crazy. So I know her mind can do fantastic things, and I'm kind of really excited to see where this can go.
Yeah, just a reminder, though, probably painful a little bit. So in January, Brooke got rotavirus. Was it rotavirus that Brooke got?
Yes.
Well, all my kids and all my degenerative patients seemed to catch some virus in December or January. This viral season was pretty bad, and all had a regression. So Brooke's regression was quite large. And then she came in, she was hypokalemic, had to get fluids.
Yeah, she has
mentally she really went down. But then talk about the rebound. What happened?
Yeah, she has POTS syndrome as well. Another autoimmune kind of jump her blood pressure easy. So she had the norovirus, and it was crazy. She was, puking and diarrhea 20 times a day for 3 days. And she finally gets over that, and she's at my house, and I'm like, all right, let's get some nutritious food into her. It's probably a horrible idea. I forget what I had. It was something pretty gnarly, I'm sure. And, she takes a bite, she gags, and she stands up and totally goes pale and completely unconscious. So I bring her to the hospital, and her potassium was quite low. It was 2.7, and her blood pressure was 70. And then after that, so we replaced the potassium, gave her a couple of bags of fluids, blood pressure comes up, color returns, and we bring her home, and it was a really hardcore regression. That wasn't even that long ago.
January.
Yeah, and I thought she might have had a stroke, and she had kind of an anoxic stroke at birth, and she's not going to be a code stroke because she's so complicated, which means we're not going to rush her to the hospital. It means we have to put her in an MRI and intubate her, which we do every few years because to check on her, she has carrier malformation as well. And that's a whole process, right? It's a risk versus reward thing. So I'm just staring at her, and it was really awful because she didn't look like she was just tired. She didn't want her iPad. She didn't want to move. She was kind of under a blanket just looking terrified, which scared the crap out of me. I'm like, I think she had another stroke. So I went, there's only one thing I know how to do. I'm like, I don't want to intubate her right away and risk that. I know the plasmalogens work. The supplements work. We have her on peptides. I'm like, let's go nuts on this. I'm just going to, nutrition her and plasmalogen her back. And it was a rough couple of weeks. I was right on the verge of thinking, okay, we got to go get this done. And she started coming back. And it seemed like within 3 days, after a couple of weeks of there's something really wrong. She's back to her baseline. Yeah, and that was probably one of the worst regressions. The whole thing it's really tricky because at 3 months, at 8 months, there was periods where she stopped and maybe even regressed a little, and I'm like, oh, I don't think it's working. Almost for a month, like long kind of little periods, and I'm like, there's nothing else that works. So I'm just going to keep going through this. And sure enough, after a month of regression, I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work anymore. She like hops up kind of to the next level out of nowhere in a day or two. It's really interesting. It kind of keeps that level. And it's just like, so you never know. So, I mean, if you get your kids on this, the advice is you got to just push through. And now we're 2 years and she's still making gains. It really feels like it's compounding. I think we got a long way to go, obviously, but
this has been, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And she's 19 years old.
Yeah, it's the trajectory is phenomenal. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, thank you so much. That was awesome. I'd love to, we'll play a little bit of her video before the break. But that was just really, I was going to ask you what advice you have, but you just gave it to really, push through.
Yeah, and keep fighting. Use all your tools, nutrition, exercise,
Yeah,
whatever you can.
She's so active,
Yeah.
and that's all because of you.
Yeah, you just create a culture in your house of that's what we do. We exercise, we eat healthy. That's what we do. And then that's what she's used to. She'll ask to go climbing. She'll ask to do things because that's our life. And it's the way to go forward, yeah.
And I think I remember when we first met that Dr. Newman had kind of her own health makeover. I don't know what to say. Like you were like, something's different about you. And you noticed that in her, right?
And Philip, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
because
saw at a wedding. You hadn't seen us for a little bit, and you saw us at that wedding. But
Yeah.
on top of that, I fixed Ryan was having a lot of issues, and we were
I was
together.
dying.
He was, he was. So I did a lot of work with Ryan himself too. So.
I guess it's just you lead by example too. He's like, something is obviously working. You had, more energy and you looked and he was like, can you help me?
Yeah, and they were so
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
And they weren't that smart before. In the nicest way possible.
He says I was a little angry in the emergency room.
I mean, you guys worked in the emergency room in probably the hardest place in the whole world.
It's
like
rough.
Skid
yeah.
Row area, right? Yeah.
It's as rough as it gets, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of stress on top of everything. But you do such amazing work, and Ryan, Brooke's story and your story we've had a lot of people reach out to us online and who've seen the story, and we can't wait to see what's next for you and Brooke.
And for everyone to build upon this.
Yeah.
This is the whole point of engaging everyone together. This is exciting stuff.
We're definitely grateful to be front runners in this, and
Yeah.
definitely appreciate your company.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Ryan.
Brooke was diagnosed with autism when she was 1 year old. She also had POTS and cerebral palsy from a stroke in utero. She would often moan loudly for 10 hours of the day and would hit herself on the head. Her family had a hard time taking her in public. She did not speak in full sentences, and she rarely made eye contact. She had a hard time with physical activity and could only run about 5 feet with her arms locked straight behind her. After hiking a quarter mile, she would often lay down on the trail and yell while covering her ears with her hands. At age 17, she started working with Dr. Siobhan Newman, who introduced her to Dr. Goodenowe's restorative health protocols. According to her father, through Dr. Newman's management of her care, her improvements have been nothing short of a miracle. He started noticing positive changes in Brooke within the first 3 weeks. After just over a year working with Restorative Health and Dr. Goodenowe, her moaning has lessened tenfold and her eye contact has improved by 70%. Her mobility is improving greatly, and she enjoys rock climbing and can hike up to 5 miles a day. Her speech is now developing, and we are all so excited to see how she continues to progress.
Because her brain's finally calmed down because of the plasmalogens, the focus is really trying to get her to do as many different types of exercise as possible.
Was she not able to do things like this before?
No, so I pushed it for 10 years, but it was truly like a nightmare. We weren't really making any progress because like a year ago, she would literally moan 10 hours a day and aggressively.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
as a parent, that's probably.
Oh, it's a full nightmare, yeah. So I noticed she just started, like, the tone of her moan changed at about 3 weeks.
3 weeks from no plasmalogens to starting to take them.
Correct. So she's still moaning 10 hours a day, but now the tone has calmed down because I had tried everything.
Signal.
Yes,
Something
yes.
was there.
Yes.
She was tolerating it fine.
Which a lot of people didn't see,
Yeah.
to be honest. So I was like talking a lot of people into it, and they were like, I don't think so, you know, because everybody's used to making no progress in these cases.
You nailed it. That's
I,
one of the things I've seen too. Progress is like so unheard of that they are just really skeptical.
Hugely, and I understand it because I had tried as much or more than anybody,
Yeah.
I think, and literally nothing was working at all. There's doctors that have known Brooke since she was young that saw this change, and they're very interested. They want to be part of this because it's kind of unheard of.
But her story is going to be so inspirational for other families.
I hope so, because I really would love people to get on this because it works. It's like simply it works. After 17 years of trying everything, basically her whole childhood is a full nightmare. Just an absolute nightmare of, screaming and kicking and moaning all day. Really like couldn't get through to her at all. And she had texture problems, like you name it, low tone, you name it. It was such a godsend because at 17, she got so aggressive. Her mom was going to call the cops because she was like choking her. I was like, this is getting crazy, right? A complete nightmare. Right when it got at its worst, I was really looking for anything, and I didn't care how much money I spent because it was, the number one thing that would improve our happiness is her calming down. This is the first IEP where everybody's excited and she's like making any sort of progress. She's a very smart girl.
Yeah.
She was stuck in a nightmare herself. And now it seems like anything Daddy will say, because she knows it's working, she would do whatever I say now.
Because she knows that this works.
Yeah. She's starting to kind of show off a little, which is funny.
Cows like to eat popcorn from a movie. From a movie? That's silly.
Brookie, tell me the joke again about the kitty cats.
What kind of dog has the cleanest hair? What kind of dog has the cleanest hair? A Sampoodle. A Sampoodle? That's silly.
She'll just be like out of nowhere. She'll be like, hi, Daddy. Like try to start a conversation. And you can see in her eyes, she's so proud that she can do that because it just wasn't a thing before. So that's quite exciting. It's a bit of a dream. It's like really, really as good as I could ask for right now.
Ryan and I met in the emergency room, and Ryan is a nurse, one of the smartest nurses I have in the emergency room. And then I've been in the emergency room for 25 years. So we worked together. So we knew each other probably before our journey.
Yeah, 10 hours of aggressive moaning, and like it was always a nightmare getting her off the bus. So she started like coming off the bus calm too, like a little calmer. And I'd be like, oh, because transitions for her are a real struggle. She doesn't like the sound of birds or the wind. I can set her off. So I noticed that, and then I was like, wow, so we're onto something. So that's when I started saying, let's up the dose. I think we went up to maybe 4 for a few months, and I saw more results, like time without moaning, better eye contact, a little bit better body organization when I was exercising her. And then, it's just been, there's been back and forth, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but the trajectory is nothing short of amazing. or last year. And then now we've added the neuro, and we're starting to see like her talking and like singing songs like she did this morning. Yeah. She sang all last night, which was amazing.
I hear the drizzle of the rain. Like a memory it falls. Soft and warm continuing. Tap me on my roof and walls.
Yeah, it's so cute. Yeah.
So I think that now we're just gonna, it's gonna be amazing to see. So during her formative years, all that time of learning was distracted, right? So green was in her plates and playing all that
nothing
is
could work.
cross-wiring and nothing, you can't make good solid tracks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna find out what solid tracks she's made by calming the brain, and then we're gonna make new tracks.